even though we just spent about, so you guys already know me, I'm Hillary. I know we just spent a while talking about technology and all the ways technology can help you, but I want to just spend a few minutes talking about tactics that you can use if you don't have all the technology yet, and if you are anything like I was 2 years ago when I joined, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was trying to kind of take whatever time I could, trying to bring that to the table. So I want to talk about how to communicate like a strategic partner, and doing that by advising rather than asking. So these are very specific tactics. Okay, so the goal here, as we discussed, is becoming an indispensable, sought-out partner and contributor for key decisions in your world. And I say sought out because it's one thing to kind of demand a seat at the table, but I think the goal is not to have to demand it, but for them to come to you and say, I want your input on this. So first of all, what's the problem? And we talked a little bit about this already. Really, the problem is people think of the word even HR, and they think support, right? They think back office. They think, help me with this problem. And this means that the business thinks of themselves as the decision makers and HR as the support, right? Just execute. Take this and run with it and make it happen. Take the outcome. And then as a result, I think that we as HR people are not realizing our full potential. I think that decisions suffer. I think that in the end, we have a lot to bring to the table, and by not having the opportunity and voice to bring that to the table, the business is suffering. And at the end of the day, I think everyone's really just frustrated by that process. So when I first joined Flatiron, I thought about how there could be a better way of doing this. How can I ensure, and just to give a minute of background here, I had my own agency before Flatiron, so I was used to being a boss. And I was like, I don't want to just execute, I want to take orders, I want to sit at the table, and how can I do that in a better way? And the thing that became obvious quite early on was, and I'm going to talk about one specific example, was being able to advise as much as I could, as often as I could, on things that I was able to, where I was present. So this applies to lots of things. It applies to offers, who you hire, don't hire, all these different things. I want to focus on offers because this is actually personal for me. When I joined Flatiron, my boss, Zach, who's one of the founders, would want to give offers, and he'd say, okay, well, let's just give this candidate this amount of money. And I'd be like, okay, I'm a recruiter, I'll go deliver this offer. The first couple offers, we did it that way, and I took a step back and I was like, how is he coming up with these numbers? Right? Like, does he have some secret compensation data that I'm not aware of? And I realized that, you know what? No. He's making it up. And the fact was that I could probably make it up better than he could. I had market data in my brain, I'd been a recruiter for years, I had spoken with Ken, I knew their expectations, I knew what could close them, and that while I had been used to being in sort of an environment where I was given an offer and asked to close, here what they really needed from me was telling them what a fair offer was. So I would do something like this, where I would say, we want to give an offer to Joe Smith, and I recommend, this much in salary and this much in equity. And the reason this is valuable is because what this gives the leadership team and the people you're working with is an opportunity to test your judgment. So you're throwing things out there all the time, and like you're not going to always be right. We'll talk about that in a second. But if you do this again and again, and you're right a lot, you'll start to trust your judgment and actually realize that you do know better, and then start to seek out your input on things. The next thing is, it's not just about throwing out ideas and saying, here's my opinion, like take it or leave it. Just as important as putting out your thought process and your opinion is laying out, and this seems very obvious, but sometimes people don't think of it, is like the context, the logic, and then inviting disagreement. This is really important because it's not just about putting out your opinion, it's about showing them that you have a good thought process, right? That like, sometimes you're going to get the wrong answer, we all do. But saying, here's how I thought about it, and you can trust that I'm thinking about it the same way you're thinking about it, because I've laid out all the things I considered. So here's kind of an example of what I do with my offers now. Is I say, hey, this person has this many this level, this is their expectations, here's their industry, and based on all of these factors, here's what I think makes sense. This also applies when people negotiate, by the way. Sometimes they ask for more or whatever, and usually it's up to finance to say yes or no, but I like to take it upon myself to say, here's what I think we should do in this situation, rather than can I give them more money. And the key here is that the leaders will see that even if the end result is something that was not what you put out there, you thought about it in a good way, and that you were open and kind of humble enough to say, like, I'm open to being wrong, right? And then they feel comfortable disagreeing with you if there's a disagreement, if they don't have the money in the budget or whatever it is. So it's all about how you lay it out and kind of explain what you're thinking and then invite that disagreement. And the last part of this is doing this even when you really don't know. And I think this is the hardest part, because there are times when I need to get an offer, and it's the first person we've ever hired into a role. I'm sure all of you have some experience this. If you don't have any market data, right, and no one does this exact job. I mean, we're a cancer data company. There's not that many engineers working the exact same thing that we do. We're making it up sometimes, right? And you have to push yourself. This would be my advice to do this process of laying out what you think and just taking a stab at it and putting a stake in the ground, even when you're not sure. Because the key here is you don't have to be right. It's about saying, I have a voice, and I'm thinking about it. And that if we're making a decision, I have an opinion on this, and I'm thinking about it. You don't always need to tell me the answer. So it's just showing that you're comfortable with ambiguity. There's lots of ambiguity. And again, they don't know it any better than you do. So just saying, hey, I don't have a lot of data points. I have really low confidence on this recommendation, but here's what I think we should do in this situation. 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, sounds good to me. So then just to circle back, the key in doing this is doing it early and often. Again, there's lots of ways to kind of like get a seat at the table, but this is an easy thing you can do, and you can just kind of put it into your day-to-day. Every email you make, every decision that has to get made, just always saying, here's what I would recommend. Here's what I would recommend, and practicing that. Just always, whenever you have a question, I always try and do this. If I'm asking a question, providing an answer. And saying, here's what I think the answer is. And trying to take away the thinking from them and take that back onto myself and really maintaining ownership over that. So early and often getting into that habit. And then to me, that is how you go from being an executor, from being an HR person, to really this indispensable partner. And the key here, just to go back to what I was saying before about like reports and all these different things that you can do, which maybe if you're, later stage and you have the time to do all the reports, that's all great. But at the end of the day, all you're doing in both of those things is just building credibility. So you're saying, like, I think about this, I spend time on this, like my opinion on this is good and it's helpful. And that is the key in my mind of going from being sort of the typical HR person to really a partner who can sit at the table. So that's really all I wanted to share with you. It's been enormously helpful for me. Again, it's such a sort of small tactic, but has really changed the culture, at least the recruiting team culture at Flatiron, and has sort of earned us the trust that I really value, and I think that HR people and recruiting people will really strive to